What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Monday night showdown picks for the Saints versus the Chargers, and it should be a really fun game, really exciting game. Decent point total with a 49.5 point game total. There is some injury news we need to touch on a little bit. So Michael Thomas is going to be out with a suspension. Austin Eckler, of course, is on the IR, which is going to open up some other running backs for the Chargers here. Jared Cook is questionable. If he does play, I think he's very cheap. If he does not play, maybe that can open up some things for some other tight ends. Mike Williams is questionable as well. If he plays, the price is decent. If he does not play, it could open up some things as well for some other guys. So like I mentioned, a 49.5 point game total. The Saints are going to be 6.5 point favorites. Should be a really fun game here. So make sure you guys monitor that injury news. It can change a lot of things. So if somebody's out, it can open up a ton of value. So make sure you guys monitor that. But we'll talk about it. And the first play I do want to talk about up top is, I don't know why I clicked off of it, but Alvin Kamara here. And especially with Michael Thomas not playing, I really want to go to Kamara in a ton of lineups. I like him as a captain. It's just the usage he gets is insane. I mean, in week 3, he had 14 targets. Week 2, 9 targets. Week 1, 8 targets. He only had 4 targets last week, but he's getting a ton of targets for a running back, something that we really like to see in DFS. So Alvin Kamara is somebody I'm really going to go to in a ton of lineups. The best play on the slate by a decent margin here. You can use him as a captain as well. I think he has the highest ceiling on the slate by a decent margin as well. So Kamara is my favorite play up top. Going to have him in a ton of lineups. I think Drew Brees is fine at 10,400, especially on a showdown slate. You do want these quarterbacks in your lineups, but he just hasn't been all that great this year, only averaging 18.2 DraftKings points, 16 DraftKings points in week 4, 22 in week 3, 18 in week 2, and 14 in week 1. Just hasn't been all that great, and a lot of that is because he's missing Michael Thomas. Jared Cook is a little beat up. So I don't know how much Drew Brees I'm going to go to this week. He's going to be obviously very high owned. But man, with no Michael Thomas, I do think that's going to hurt him a little bit here. And I'd rather, honestly go and play Herbert. Herbert, especially since the Chargers are going to be underdogs. They're going to be trailing, most likely in this game, leading to more passing attempts. And Herbert has actually been pretty solid. 24 DraftKings points in week 4 against Tampa Bay, 19.7 in week 3 against Carolina, 26.24 in week 2 against Kansas City. He's been pretty solid here. So I do like Herbert. I like a lot of his weapons as well, and we'll talk about him. But I think I'd probably go with Herbert over BREES just because of the game script, and they should be trailing. And BREES hasn't been all that great. Missing Michael Thomas is not going to help him, but Herbert is probably the guy I'll go to in quarterback in most lineups. But of course, BREES is most definitely in play. Michael Thomas, of course, he's out and suspended there. Keenan Allen, probably my second favorite play on the slate, just due to the volume he gets. 19 targets in week 3. He did have 11 targets in week 4, 10 in week 2, 8 in week 1 against Cincinnati. So he's getting a lot of targets, lots of volume here for Keenan Allen. He's been very, very good so far this year. I do like that Herbert to Allen connection. Ever since Herbert's been playing, Allen has been very, very good. In week 1, only had 7.7 DraftKings points. But yeah, Allen's been fantastic so far this year. So I like him as a captain due to the amount of receptions he's most likely going to bring in. I like him as a flex in a lot of lineups here. I think he has a lot of upside, especially in a game where they should be trailing, leading to more passing attempts, leading to more receptions for Allen here. Eckler is on the IR, opening up Joshua Kelly here at 8,200. The problem is, I think he's going to split a lot of snaps with Justin Jackson, and I think that's going to hurt him quite a bit. And 8,200, honestly, I'd rather go down and just play Justin Jackson. He's going to be like half the price, and I think the snap count is going to be kind of similar. And especially with the Chargers being underdogs, I don't know how much carries Kelly's going to really get. So yeah, I don't know. Don't really love the player. I think he's going to gain some ownership just due to the fact that Eckler is on the IR, but it seems like it's a little too expensive for me. I'd rather go down half the price and go get Justin Jackson here. So don't know how much Kelly I will have here. Hunter Henry's very interesting, 7,800, a tight end I really like. Has been solid so far this year, averaging 10.6 points. I guess you could say it's a little bit expensive here, but solid matchup against New Orleans here. So I will have him in some lineups. At 7,800, it's not bad. It just seems like it's a little bit too expensive, but I do think he has a decent amount of upside, especially with them being underdogs, them trailing and, coming from behind. I think he should get some decent opportunity here. Traquan Smith, of course, no Mike Thomas. Another guy that seems a little bit overpriced here at 7,000. I know he had that fantastic game, scoring 21.4 DraftKings points. But again, I'd rather probably go down and get someone who's been getting a little bit more targets, and that is Emmanuel Sanders, and he's like 2,000 cheaper. So don't know how much Smith will have, but on showdown slates, someone with Smith who has a ton of upside, you do want to target him, but I do think he's a little bit overpriced here. But he's a fine play, especially with Thomas being out. Cook might not play as well, so he's definitely in play. It's just I think he's a little bit too expensive here. Emmanuel Sanders, like I talked about, he's 5,600. Has been being pretty solid as of late. 15 points last week, 15 points in week 3. He had 9 targets last week as well, and he's 5,600. So pretty cheap here with no Michael Thomas. It helps him out a ton. If Cook does not play, it'll help him out a ton. I really like Sanders here at 5,600. I think is a pretty solid play. Mike Williams, he's questionable. If he plays, honestly not too interested. I'd rather go up and, pay and get Keenan Allen. He hasn't really done much so far this year. Averaging about 5.7 DraftKings points. I mean, he's very cheap and he has some decent upside. It's just I'm not all that interested. I'd rather play Henry or Keenan Allen or the running backs for the Chargers. But if he does not play, it'll open up some things. Latavius Murray, I do want to talk about 4,800. He's just getting a lot of usage here. 14 attempts in week 4, 12 in week 3. He did have 15 attempts in week 1 as well. So if they're winning this game, he's going to get a lot more rushing attempts. He's also got a couple targets throughout the year as well. So yeah, Murray at 4,800, especially if he finds the end zone, that could be huge here. And there's really not much value. And we'll talk about it, but there's not much down here. So, I mean, probably Murray or even Jackson is somebody I really like are going to be my preferred plays down here to get some value. Jackson's very interesting. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, he's like half the price of Kelly here. So I think he's going to get a decent amount of usage here with no Eckler. And he also has that pass catching ability as well in a game that they're going to be trailing. I think he can get some receptions for sure. Maybe find the end zone as well. So Justin Jackson is definitely somebody I'm looking at, just due to the fact that I think they're going to, give him some decent usage. I don't think Kelly's going to go out there and play, 75, 80% of the snaps. I think it might be like 60-40, something like that, 65-35, something like that as well. So he's going to get a decent amount of action Jackson there. So yeah, Jackson at 4,400, decent play there. I like the value. Guyton could be okay if Mike Williams is out. These kickers are interesting, especially on a slate that has a decently high point total at 49.5. Lutz, the Saints have a better team total there, so Lutz is probably my preferred play, and I'm actually a big Lutz fan. I think he's a very good kicker there. And then, of course, Badgley is fine at 3,800 as well. Not too interested in the defenses. What should be a decently high-scoring game on both sides. Don't really see the reason to play defenses, but they're really cheap. I guess it's intriguing. Maybe they can score a touchdown. Just really hard to predict that. So not too interested in the defenses there. Other than that, there really isn't much here. Usually on these showdown slates, you can find some value, and maybe there will be if Mike Williams is out. There could be some value opening up, but there's really not much. Taysom Hill is somebody I like playing in these showdown slates for the Saints. It's just he hasn't done anything this year, averaging only 2.3 DraftKings points. He did have 5 in week 1. Other than that, he hasn't done much. Maybe he finds the end zone. It's just, I don't know. I don't really see it. Trautman could be interesting if Cook is out. It's just when Cook did not play, Trautman did nothing. He did absolutely nothing. So very concerning there. I know he's only 1,000, but probably not going to go there as well. So yeah, very tough week for value. So I think it's going to be pretty hard to go up there and captain a guy like Alvin Kamara. So I don't know. There's really not much down here. But if Mike Williams is out, it could open up some things. Callaway could be a decent play. It's just we got to look at that injury news as well here. Going to do an example lineup here. Of course, we'll start with the flex here. I do want Kamara in there. Preferably a captain would be, the best option there. But like I said, with not much value, it's hard to get Kamara in a captain. I think Herbert's a good play. Like the game script, they should be coming from behind, leading to more passing attempts, and he's been very good as well. Decent matchup as well against New Orleans here. Keenan Allen, I really want in my lineup. Going down, I think Emmanuel Sanders is a pretty solid play there. And then other than that, at captain, we can go down. And I think at captain, my preferred captain would most definitely be Kamara. It would most definitely be Allen. Those are my top two. But going down and getting, say, Justin Jackson, I think has a lot of upside. And then we're left with 6,200. I think Jared Cook is very cheap here. If he does play, I think there's a lot of upside against the Chargers here. So, yeah, Jared Cook. So something like this, you don't really have a scrub in there, not much value in there. But Justin Jackson at captain, like I said, my preferred captain would be Kamara or Allen, but it's just really tough to do that with not much value. But we do have Kamara in the lineup. We do have Allen in the lineup. Justin Herbert got a quarterback in there. Emmanuel Sanders, I think, is way too cheap at 5,600 with no Mike Thomas. And then Jared Cook, if he does play, I think is a very good option there. So just an example lineup. I don't know if I'm going to use that. Most of my lineups will have Kamara at captain or Allen or at captain. And hopefully some value does open up. If Mike Williams does not play, it'll open up some other guys, and that will help out a ton. If he does play, it's going to be tough to make lineups, I'll be honest. So really looking forward to this slate. Should be a fun one. Should be a challenging one as well. And I'm really ready to make some money. So that's about it. If you guys can leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are not subscribed yet, would appreciate that a lot. Check out my first look video that will be dropping sometime on Tuesday. And then, of course, my Thursday showdown video. And then my final thoughts and picks video as well sometime on Friday or Saturday. Thank you all for the support, and good luck tonight in this Chargers versus Saints matchup.